square metal tubing or rectangular metal tubing instead of the wood here? Well, you can also make it out of wood, obviously. Also, the screws are in it don't have to be made out of metal. They can be made out of wood too. Also, the stuff that they have that's metal here for part of the seat, this would have originally had a seat cushion that went up to about here, and then it would have had a backrest that is tied to it. This one right here is actually quite a bit newer because it has the hex head bolts in it, or hex head screws. Sorry, I'm trying to show them to you. It says rotate device. But this part right here, you could also do this out of wicker. On some of the metal ones, this part is either made out of a springy nylon type of material, which nylon is not all that springy, but there's also some that have double spandex with a gel thing on them. There's ones that have basically trampoline material. But also, as soon as I saw this, I noticed that it's a lightweight framework in a similar shape to what I need. These things are made out of layers and layers of wood that are glued to each other in the shape that it needs to be. Now, if that laminate gets wet, like you can see here, let's see if it'll focus in. It'll start to crack and separate, like right here and over here. And of course, here you can see how the grain goes, and this is where it's split and where it's getting the most grain. Now then we got cross-grained materials like this here. This is just one piece, but it's got multiple grains in it, and it's got some quasi-knots. This is actually the root of a knot, basically. This one right here actually is a knot, but in this particular wood, it was able to do so without splitting out and popping out. That actually creates structural stability if it's solid in it like that. And having the grain so it goes in different directions, wavy and all that, that makes it so that if it gets wet, it's more likely to warp, but it's also more likely to retain its structural stability. Now, when I saw this, the first thing I thought is, you know what, if it had a sign on it that was head free, I'd go get my screw gun and take it apart, and I would use this for the frame of at least two of my ideas, because there's enough wood there to do it. Alright, so the update on the situation across the street from my car. Tom's friend wasn't able to help him last night. She did come today. I don't know what they discussed, but she didn't leave with them like he was planning. Oh, I just found a bunch of fake pearls. Cool. A pirate's booty. Just little plastic beads that are painted with pearlescent paint. Most of them it's already off, like this one here. Oh, almost all those right there. But I can find a purpose for them. If all else fails, I can pop it apart ring by ring, spray the SOB down, pop a feather through it, and sell it as an earring. Alright, that actually takes some doing to be able to do that. Anyway, so Tom's friend today, she did come down. I don't know what they discussed, but Tom is staying here as a result of whatever they discussed. Well, in part. There's also Molly. She tried the berating him and talking down to him and telling him, no, only I get to talk. But he wasn't having it, so she put on the waterworks and I'm alone out here, I need protected, and I already knew that. I already knew she was gonna. But also the thing is, her putting on the waterworks like she did, it's for something I already knew. She is scared to be alone. She's an asshole to people because she's scared to be alone. She wants to build herself up to be tougher than she is, have a lot of experience that she doesn't, but really she's just gonna fold. So, well, that's something that he did already understand. It's also something I already understood and spoke out about on my channel. But he's gonna try to put his camp up close to hers. Also, he got stuff moved from my vehicle so I can actually drive somewhere else now, which is nice. He also brought me some water, so I have that. Also, the stuff that he claims that I stole. She has the black hat. She found that, so obviously I didn't steal that. And he has the black scarf. That's his scarf, and that's why he took it with him. But in either event, I wasn't the one that took either one of those items. I didn't get an apology. I probably won't get an apology. At least her stuff is returned. So he's got his stuff over there, and I don't know what they're going to do. I know he's going to try to get her to Portland. And, you know, one of the things about that is he felt bad dumping the situation off on me and her off on me. The situation with his friend falling through for whatever reason. She was supposed to be here last night to pick him up so he'd have a good night's rest. Then she was supposed to go see him today, and it took forever for her to get here. When she did finally get here, she didn't take him with, or his stuff. Meanwhile, I'm the one who's in the immediate vicinity when she's having the most anxiety. So I am the target of whatever she feels is going wrong, or could go wrong, could possibly go wrong, or has gone wrong in the past. I'm going to be the person that she takes that frustration out on. That sucks. Anyway, hopefully with him taking that scarf back over there and her having found the hat, hopefully she'll chill her shit out. That was uncalled for and unnecessary. I'm tired of being victimized like that, and it is victimization. When you go destroying a person's name like that, you know, that's a fucked up thing to do. That guy that she was there with, who was talking to me, when she was trying to tell him what a horrible, terrible thief I am, he'd already had it with her in the morning. You guys can hear her and him arguing literally on my channel. Alright, she's fucking around with my vehicle. And she's walking away, but down there with the white hat, or with the black hat and the white jacket. I don't know what she was doing by my car. She's crossing the road now. And Tom let me know I do need to be paranoid of her doing something to my car, so let's see what's going on here. At least I found some baubles. Shiny baubles. Do you see my shiny baubles? Oh. It's a bunch of garbage. Oh my god. Let me see water. She's nice as far as giving things, but as far as giving respect, there is none. Looking after her well enough to make sure that nobody beats her to death. That's what I can do. And I can do it from a distance to some degree, depending on how far away I am. Since Thomas is gonna apparently stay here and have himself his own camp, I guess I'm relieved of my duties there. So I don't want my phone to run out, so I'm gonna plug it into the charger here and start my car again. Right here for a couple You come back to my car and said he just wanted to escape, but I'm glad he's here actually to protect her, and glad he's gonna take the responsibility back for the time being because, oh my god, she's nuts. And I don't mean that clinically. I mean, I don't know what she was diagnosed with or if she's diagnosed with anything or if her diagnoses are correct. So, yeah, there's that. Looks like she's breaking up her camp to go with him. He said he's gonna get her out of here, which it looks like he's keeping his word. He's trying to. He's losing his fucking sanity over her. And he's also trying to do rest service by preserving our sanity by trying to get her to a different camp that's just a little bit further away. I don't know what the hell to do with their trash, though. I don't know why they brought it to me, or why she brought it to me. Maybe a fuck you or something, I don't know. This coffee's gross. I think next time I'm gonna make a thing of tea. I have tea. Yes. Oh my god, I love that. That's foresight right there. I knew I was gonna want a cigarette earlier, so I put some of my snipes in the armrest. Because I knew I was gonna dig there, even though I know I never put any there. And I went, you know, if I put some there, then it won't make me feel so stupid for looking somewhere where I never put them. That's problem solving, right? anytime I have somebody who's wanting to play victim and fucking yell and scream and shout at me, that increases the safety issues inherent in my situation. It also increases the chances of other people listening to that, hearing it, believing it, and of course taking action because they're fucking paranoid. Not because I've done anything wrong, but because they're paranoid because some fucking idiot wanted to accuse me of doing shit I didn't do. Well, it's not even that. I mean, she found her hat. She's been wearing her hat. I guess that's her way of... Maybe she's trying to say she's sorry by wearing the hat. Maybe she's trying to say she's sorry by bringing me garbage. Or maybe that she's trying to say she likes me by doing that. I don't know. I do know she's one of those everyone's on the spectrumers. And she's also there's no such thing as autism because everyone's on the spectrum. Oh. Everybody may be traumatized enough to have PTSD, I'll give you that, but autism is awesome, right? You just don't get it. Being autistic is awesome. Being treated like you're autistic is not awesome. That is decidedly not awesome. See, being treated like you're autistic, that's where people have their assumptions, and how they treat you is based on their level of quote-unquote education. Well, most people are not educated. They're not educated in autism. They don't know shit about autism. If they do know people who are autistic, they know one or two. Or, of course, they know people who are high-functioning autistic and people who are low-functioning autistic. And the low-functioning autistic people, they identify these individuals as retarded, and the high-functioning autistic people, they identify as just social idiots or social morons. A lot of us get your social norms. We just don't understand why you do it. It's stupid. Why do you say one thing and do another? Then when you force us to do the very same thing to try to get heard, you pretend like we're bad people for doing it. Holy hell. Holy macaroni. Alright, I just took a bunch of little snipes and put them in my tobacco pipe. I apparently did not need to do that. Also, with her putting trash next to my vehicle, it makes it so that I'm in a increased chance of getting messed with. I mean, literally, we got Tom's stuff moved away from here so that my car's not at risk. But we took it right back where he had just tried to escape from. And now he's taking one for the team. Kind of like yesterday and this morning, I took one for the team. Optimally, I'd like to be able to help him out, help her out, and help myself out. It'd be easy as fuck if all three of us worked together. We can't have one person being the domineering personality. It needs to be an equality thing. If we're going to work on your problems, we're also going to work on ours. That's how it needs to be. I don't have that going on. I have people who promise to help me, and I get there, and they don't keep their word. And all of a sudden, there's 10,000 things they need help with first. Really, we got to go through 3 weeks fucking manual labor that a dude with a fucked up back has to do before you can make a police report or tell the truth. You're fucking stupid. That ain't how it is. At Shannon Alvarado's house when I went back there the second time, which was a big fucking mistake. That room was immaculate. Oh my God. Yes, they put so much work into that place. It was perfect. When I first got to Shannon Alvarado's house, that room was so full of shit, you couldn't even open the door. we had to push the door in about 4 inches in order to start trying to. I put my arm underneath of one of the bags that she had everything in there in, and I pushed it up until it got stuck on the door handle, and then I had to push it sideways, and it kind of rolled a little bit more behind the door, and we were able to get the door open to about 6 inches, 6.5 inches, and from there we were able to get the bag that was on the floor that was blocking the door. It was full of clothes, and it took a little bit of doing. I got a fucked up back, like I said. So what I ended up doing is taking the broom handle and I shoved that broom in there. I didn't know it was behind it, but I knew it was something hard because I'd felt it. And then I lifted the broom handle a bit and held the broom handle with one hand and held the bag with the other, and was able to kind of sort of pry it up a little bit at a time and let the broomstick rest on my knee. That way I wasn't screwing up my back too bad. And I finally got that second bag out from in front of the door. And of course, there were some immediately behind it, but that was at the area where, you can actually reach in. And once I was able to get that second bag, I just basically continued to roll. The stuff that was on the top was all lighter stuff, so I just continued to roll it over the top until I could get in, squeeze myself in, and then the two bags that were immediately, well, actually, it was about 6 bags that were behind there, but I was able to get all of them moved, and then I started hauling out bags and bags and bags of alcohol bottles, and she was telling me those are all from her ex-husband or her ex-boyfriend, something like that. When I finally left there, it wasn't a whole lot cleaner than it was when I first went in there. I mean, well, actually, that's not true. It was a lot cleaner. I mean, there was a lot of nasty shit in there that was unsanitary. And with it not being in the house, well, that made it so it was a lot safer for them. Anyway, he took his stuff back over to her camp. He didn't want her to know that it was sitting next to my vehicle. So now she's setting stuff next to my vehicle. I gotta find a place to go put that. But then I have to worry that maybe she'll try saying that she was gonna ask me if I would give her a ride down to turn those in or something like that. Or maybe she was trying to pay me with trash to say she was sorry or something. I had a cat named Princess, and she used to bring me dead things all the time. I was living with a guy named Tom Payne, and there was a stink in his fucking house. It was the most wretched stink. I'd had a few dreams where my cat had brought me a dead animal and left it on my chest. Well, a few of those times in the morning, I noticed that there was red spots on my shirt because I was wearing a white shirt. Princess had brought me a dead animal, and so she had stashed it somewhere. Well, eventually we did find it. It was right behind the heating. The reason it was permeating the whole house. She was dropping possibly hundreds of mice. I don't know. The whole time I was there, apparently she'd been killing them, and she had a pile there which was about, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches tall of dead mice carcasses in various states of decomposition. Like, she'd been killing a lot of mice in that house, just one after the other, and she kept on trying to bring them to me to say thank you. Well, according to her understanding, that's how you say thank you, or that's how you say I love you, or according to the lady here, of course, that's the way that she says she's sorry, or she wants you to hang out, or things of that nature. She wants to entice you to stay with a sandwich. You guys know how I feel about sandwiches. Thank you for the sandwich, but if you're going to give me a sandwich, give me a sandwich. Don't make me hang out for an hour and listen to you fucking rant and rave for a fucking hour for a fucking sandwich, and then expect me to listen to you rant and rave for an hour afterwards. And every time I go to take a bite, you want to ask me a question. Hey, get out of here, B. Sorry, B tried flying into my vehicle. Anyway, I'm gonna hopefully be able to find out why there's garbage next to my vehicle. I don't want to go near her camp because I don't want any complications with her, because I don't know for certain that she's putting garbage next to my vehicle as a thank you. It might be a, hey, fuck you, here's all my trash. You fucking find something to do with it. Hey, B, get out of here. This is not your vehicle. This is not your vehicle. All right. Hey! I open the door all the way so he can get out. He flies out and flies right back in. What a dick. Hey, dude, knock it off. Now I got no choice but to shut the door before he flies back in. He's doing this. Oh, fuck him. I'm not really in the mood to be messed with by a bee. She only brought one bag of garbage over. She definitely saw me coming up to the vehicle, so she might have intended on bringing more over and just decided not to because she saw me here. I do know she's on my YouTube channel, recorded hooting and hollering and ranting and raving about me being a thief and me being a this, and I was supposed to do that. I asked Tom, I said, Tom, when she left yesterday, did she ask me to watch camp? No. All right. I said, when she left yesterday, were you still here? He said, yeah. I said, all right. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't a liar. So they're both over there packing up the stuff at camp a little bit. She's got her black hat. That was the hat that she was missing is apparently the one that she's wearing on her head. That black one that she was wearing when I was walking up. She's got that white jacket. I listened to the video. She had said that I had stolen a jacket, but then she had changed it to a hat. It wasn't a jacket, it was a hat, and she corrected herself. And the other one was a scarf. Well, he has the scarf. It's his scarf. So he's allowed to take that. And he was kind of considering lying to her just to avoid complications. He said, well, you know, I could just tell her you didn't steal it, somebody else did, and they left it behind the Goodwill. Like, you know, that's just gonna reinforce in her mind that somebody stole it. I mean, it's your scarf. Just tell her the truth. Now she's doing the whole I'm scared I need protection thing after basically trying to destroy his life. Oh my god! That thing is so cool! How many cylinders is in the engine on that?
3.
3?
Yeah.
So it's like a snowmobile engine?
No, it's got a Rotex 900.
Oh my god, that's what they put in the Sportlight airplanes.
Yeah, it's got quite a bit of power. It's 87 horsepower and only weighs 400 pounds.
That actually is a snowmobile engine then, actually. The Rotex 900, those are originally built for snowmobiles.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the reason that they're used in airplanes and stuff is because when you get a little bit higher up, the air has less density and it takes less of the heat away because of that.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a fun little machine. It saves me a shit ton on gas, so.
Absolutely. And it's tip resistant. If that seat was about 8 inches lower, I could even get on that with my screwed up back.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure it'd be easy to put a couple of pegs on the side to walk up.
Yeah, it actually is pretty good for the back. I have a BMW, but 2 wheels when I have RA and had back surgery a few years
Oh
ago.
my God, I'm sorry.
And so, yeah, it's a lot easier on my back than the other one, and I can actually ride long distances without having my leg cramp up or go numb. So.
Arthritis, with the rheumatoid arthritis, I know
Yeah.
a couple of people that are older in life, and they have to take like stage 4 cancer meds
I've
for
already
pain.
done that.
Oh
Yeah,
my God, that
it's a
takes your brain
handful.
away.
Yeah, it tears your system up, that's for sure. I quit taking everything about 2 years ago and just went to like diet control, making sure that I don't eat anything processed and no large amounts of carbohydrates.
Well, you seem to have your brain pretty well together, so you did a great transition.
Yeah.
It's tough getting off. I'm in a lot of pain, and I do it without drugs, but they always want to give me opiates.
Oh yeah, they push them like crazy. I always refused them. I wouldn't do them.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So, how much are those, if you don't mind me
About
asking?
17. So.
I
less
would
than a
need
car.
2 souls to buy one of those.
What's that?
I said I would need 2 souls to buy one of those.
Yeah. When you factor in how much it saves on gas,
It's worth it.
it's worth it.
That's why I got this over a truck. Well, that and I couldn't afford the truck that I was trying to buy.
Yeah, see, I had my truck, but it was killing me on gas. It's, this thing in gas is $50 a month.
Well, I've seen a lot of those. There's like 3 or 4 different companies that make them, but only 2 of them sell in the United States, and they have different models.
Yeah.
And I've never gotten to talk to somebody who owns one. I always see them on the back of trailers. I'm like, that's the wrong thing to do with that. That's not what it's for.
No, this one can go anywhere, on road, off road. The other ones that have the fully enclosed fronts are mostly just on road. They don't do very well off road.
So does this have a adjustable pitch on the front?
Yeah. Yeah, it's got the springs can be adjusted for the shocks, and then these adjust.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's fun. It's nice. I've had it about a month and already done like almost 3,000 miles on it in a month. So.
Very cool. My name is Sean, by the way.
I'm Tracy. Nice to
Good to
meet
meet
you.
you, Tracy. I don't want to take up too much of your time.
Right.
That is just a badass toy, and thank you for letting me talk to you about it.
Absolutely. Take care.
Be safe. It's a Can-Am Rider Rally. It's a trike, but it's not a sand trike like one tire in the front and 2 in the rear. This is 1 tire in the rear and 2 in the front. Also, it's got the changing system on the back side, like on a BMW motorcycle. And BMW now has, I guess, 2 different types, one of shaft driven and one chain driven. But you can see on the, I'm not going to show it to you because, well, fuck it, I can't see the license plate from here, so it ought to be all right. I'm not trying to expose people's personal information or nothing, but that's what it looks like. It's fucking cool. And that little red button on the front is part of the adjustable air ride as she was showing. And right there you can see part of the, that right there I'm assuming is an induction system for the air. That part with Can-Am for certainly is, but the part behind it looks like a plastic housing, but it might not be. However, it looks like it's for starting to spin the air as it sucks it into the engine through the back as well. That might be a turbo or a super. Of course, it almost looks like it might be the bell housing too, possibly. I don't know. See, I don't know exactly how they set up the system and mountings on it. I do know that it looks to be chain driven. But if it is chain driven, it's an enclosed chain. And you can see how it's got the clip on the outside of it there. You have to pull that. Here, I'll show you. Right there. That red clip that's around it. You have to take that off in order to take the tire off. It's actually a quick change thing, and they have those something similar on BMWs. It makes it a lot easier to change the tire, but also it's got to be a lot beefier because of the way that the weight is being pushed on that part. It's wanting to twist it and anything that it's mounted to. So you got to have extra gussets and extra strong alloys and make them extra thick. And you got to have corrugations to structurally reinforce it in the right places. And then, of course, you got to put structural reinforcing retaining walls within it. That way it keeps the thing from contracting or expanding in an area where there's not so much reinforcement. And then, of course, there's going to be the ribbing. Usually the ribbing is an extension of the gussets, and the gussets are for corners, to structurally reinforce an area that has a corner, just so that it's less likely to perforate or pop in. That's just a cool piece of equipment right there. Like I said, if that seat was about 8 inches lower, or there was a little ladder, a step ladder on the side, I could probably mount up on that and get on it. Well, not entirely. I'd have to... I'm not sure how many of you still watch old movies. A lot of y'all who watch this channel are old enough that you would probably know what I'm talking about. If I was to tell you to look up Lowrider, you've probably already seen it. You know, a lot of my viewers, statistically, according to YouTube, are females who are definitely alive for 20 or more years before I was born. Oh, shit. Oh, God, I forgot to put sugar in it. When I was talking about, in one of my earlier videos today, when I was talking about the AH-1G Cobra, not specifically the G variant, actually, any of them. They use the G variant. That's the variant, the first one that was ever made, and they're really simple, and they use them for Firewatch here in the United States now. Basically, they go out there, and it's called the chin turret. It's a little turret on the bottom that's run by electronic means. And in Vietnam, it either came with a 20 millimeter or 30 millimeter GAU minigun, or it came with a standard minigun, 7.62 by 39, or no, 7.62 by, fuck, I can't remember at the moment. My apologies. I do know this one. I don't know. I'll remember it. Anyway, it's a minigun that fires it's actually an intermediate round. We call it a rifle round, and it kind of sort of is, but I mean, it's based on the German Kurz round of World War II, which is also the same round that the Russian AK-47 round is based off of. It's not actually a long-range cartridge. That's because the Russians, Germans, and the United States and Great Britain all realized that most combat takes place within 400 yards. Most effective combat, anyway. Beyond 400 yards, if you hit something with a standard military rifle, you got lucky. Extremely lucky. Matter of fact, at 400 yards, I can tell you that even being as good as I am with a rifle, open sights, 400 yards is difficult. It's extremely difficult. You have to take your time. It's a tough shot. No target is going to allow you the up to 5 minutes that it's going to take you to make sure that you hit what you're shooting at, or get as close as possible. You got to breathe enough to slow your heart. That is not easy to do. Also, you're exposing yourself the whole time you're taking the time to do that. You have to not move. at all. You have to pull incredibly slowly once you are on where you're at with the end of that rifle. And as you slowly squeeze the trigger, and I'm talking with a scope, all right, I'm not going to pretend that I'm going to be able to hit my target at 400 yards open sight. No, With a scope, yes, I probably could. But when you get it pulled back a little bit and then you move just a tiny bit, you got to be able to hold your finger where it's still at, not let go of it any and not pull it back any further, while you may take 10 to 12 seconds to try to slow everything down again and get it right where it needs to be. So, I mean, effective combat requires you to know what the hell's going on. If you've got something that can reach out and destroy something at 2,000 yards, that's great if you can take a 2,000-yard shot. But if most combat is not going to take place in 2,000-yard area, it's going to take place in 400 yards. Then if you do have combat that's going on 2,000 yards out, you do have the ability to still lay down suppressing fire with a Kurz type of round. It'll still reach out that far enough to at least get them to make sure their heads stay down. And that way, the guy that you have that's got a rifle that can point out that far, you don't need to have every single infantryman armed with something like that. With the ones that you do, you lay down your suppressing fire, and that way you can get your sniper set up to take his deep breaths. And when somebody pops their head off, I'm sure there was a point to that whole thing going off about guns. I don't remember what it was at the moment, though. Sorry for going off on a tangent. Oh yeah, the chin turret. The AH-1G Cobra. When I was talking about the plastic bottles, how you can squeeze them. As long as you mold it in a shape where it's open, and as long as you put a little bit of a curve in it, it'll always pop back up after you've squished it. If you make it out of #1 recycled plastic, it's UV resistant, it's heat resistant, it's liquid resistant, it's gas resistant, it's resistant as hell, it's impact resistant. So if you can make an emergency boat that you can drop, that's got a little bit of a ledge on it so that it'll make sure that it pops back up. That way it's got a covered canopy. You can stack dozens of these things on top of each other, maintain a minimal thickness of the stack of about that tall, and you can strap these things to the bottom of an AH-1G Cobra. Now, as lightweight as they would be based on the plastic that they would be made out of, you'd be able to attach one of these things to an AH-1G Cobra, a stack of them, of potentially 200 to 300 of them. If there's a wreck or a crash where one of these cruise ships goes down and there's a bunch of people on it and it's rough seas, you can go out there with something like a Cobra that, all right, let's say, for example, you know the H-1G Cobra is based on a previous helicopter called the UH-1 Huey. This is a transport helicopter, but it's also originally designed as a medevac. The same thing that the Bell 47 was used for in the Korean War. If you've watched MASH, that's a Bell 47 helicopter. So, with a lot of the stuff when it comes to helicopters and stuff like that, I like the engines. I study the engines and how they work. I know about the OH-6 and the engine that's used in it. It's now a Rolls-Royce engine, but it was originally designed by the Allison Transmission Company here in the United States. In Vietnam, that was used in the OH-6, now renamed the AH-6. It was also called the MD-500 for the civilian version. It's the helicopter from Magnum PI. The AH-1G being based on UH-1 Huey, which was an ambulance. Well, they made it so that instead of having a UH-1 ambulance all rigged up to be let's use a civilian version, all right? If you have a literal ambulance on the ground, right? and its job is to transport human beings to somewhere where they need to be safe. Well, now you need a second ambulance. The reason that you've got a second ambulance is because you don't have a gunship that's designed to, you don't have an armored car. What you've got is another ambulance. So now you're rigging people up in another ambulance and trying to use that other ambulance as an armored car. Well, in Vietnam, that didn't work so well, because then you've got this thing that is so weighed down. This is supposed to be your protection. It's supposed to show up a minute to 2 minutes before you get to the LZ. But this thing gets there after you get there because it's way too heavy. So when they came up with the AH-1G Cobra, it was designed to have most of its parts, like the tail boom and such, made out of what they already produce at the factory. If they had an issue where they had way too many ambulances and needed more gunships, they could still take the tail off of another UH-1 and put it on an AH-1. They would have to make sure that they paid attention to the rotor that was put on the tail end, because, well, the difference here is the difference between driving a Winnebago and driving a Formula One car at this point. Sure, a Winnebago and a Formula One car may have the same axle, or they might have the same size wheel or the same size tire. They might have a few of the same parts. They might have the same engines even. One of them is a high-performance engine and one of them is just a regular version. One of them is lightweight and one of them is heavy. Now, when you get the AH-1G, this is something that is meant as a gunship. Now, imagine you take everything off of it that makes it a gunship. Now you've increased its fuel capacity. You've increased its potential fuel load and potential fuel usage. You've extended its range. You've increased its speed. And now with the chin turrets on the Firewatch Cobras, they have electronic gadgets that, well, they look at the environment around it. They search for hot spots with infrared. They're already search and rescue helicopters. They can go out with those helicopters and find missing firemen who got caught in a hot spot. Now, if they're to use those helicopters like that, especially on the coast, the Oregon coast, the Washington coast, the California coast, coastlines are especially prone to fires. So if you can use something like that for sea rescue, and you can use it for the fire rescue, that chin turret you can still put there. You can still have, of course, in a helicopter, you have to maintain the center of balance underneath the mast, the rotor mast. And then you got the rotor, and then the rotor is held to the mast by the Jesus nut. The reason they call it the Jesus nut is because if it falls out or breaks, you best be on good terms with Jesus. And that is literally what the part is called. I want you to type in the word Jesus nut. Yeah, it's an actual part to a helicopter. Now, when I was saying that thing about the recycled plastic bottles, like I've got a few bottles in here that say they're 100% recycled plastic. They're number one, polyethylene terephthalate. Like I've been saying, it can be melted down over and over and over and over again, 276 degrees Fahrenheit. You got something that's high performance. You put something that is that incredibly lightweight. You make them so they're about the same width as the fuselage or wider. Each person basically gets their own personal boat, but you could fit 3 to 5 people in each one comfortably. They'd be lightweight enough that all of the ordnance that you would strap to that thing, a stack of 100 of those boats would weigh less than the ordnance for a minigun. It would weigh less than the minigun itself. It would weigh less than the machinery that is required to operate that portion of the turret. So basically, if you take out the minigun, times 2 on all this, mind you, you take out the miniguns, times 2, then You take out the operating system times 2. Then you take out the ammunition for each round, or for each 500 round box. And they don't put them in 500 round strands, by the way. For every 500 round box, there's another stack of 100 of these things. Now, part of that is because of the weight of the box, and the weight of the ammunition, and the weight of a lot of the other stuff that goes with it. Now, when you figure, you got to look at the weight of the box, and you got to look at the weight of the plastics. You also got to look at the aerodynamics of each. The aerodynamics of all the ordnance that you're putting on the outside of it that's got a lot of surface area versus a stack of, and they're not inflatable, by the way. They're self-inflating because of the shape of them, and that's one of the things that I'm hoping to show with the concept from a backpack I want to show you. Also, part of the reason for wanting to make a cape that I can pop up one part of it and it turns into a dinosaur outfit is that I can show you the concept of well, a lot of the simple mechanics that are involved in something like that, or can be involved. We've got a bad habit of trying to make everything electronic when it don't need to be. That's why I refer to them as voodoo electronics. Anything like that out in the field, and I'm not talking about just out in the military, I'm talking about in a field, even, literally a field. Those electronics, if you're dependent upon them, become a detriment as soon as you no longer have the ability to maintain a charge. Also, if there is something internally that happens with them, it's not as easy for you to fix it yourself. You have to send it into the factory, or you got to send it all the way to fucking Springfield. And I don't mean Springfield in Illinois, I mean the Springfield factory. And they're actually not the company that they used to be. The name has changed, and it's basically a name only for a different set and series of things. Now, we've got various armories around the United States that belong to the military. And they do work on a lot of that stuff, and our military is becoming increasingly dependent upon batteries. We've been dependent on batteries for most of our stuff for a lot of years. But there are basic things that will never need batteries, hopefully. Hopefully you never require batteries to know how to use a fucking trench shovel. If you can't use an entrenching tool, I don't know what to say. I wouldn't know how to respond to somebody who didn't know how to use a shovel. And that's what an entrenching tool is. It's basically a shovel. Life skills, like I was saying before. It don't matter if you're a man or a woman, you should probably know how to use a shovel. It don't matter if you're a man or a woman, you should probably know how to cook. With stuff that you can take that's garbage, wouldn't it be better to make something that could be used hundreds of times? I mean, we melt down beverage containers that are perfectly good beverage containers because they're not going to look shiny and brand new if you get them just a little scuffed and a little scratched. And then people look at that and they go, ew, it's dirty, I don't want to buy that. So we have to melt them down. But if it's something that you're not sticking up to your face, well, it's not so bad, is it? You guys have sat in plastic boats that are all scuffed up before. I mean, my seat's made out of mostly artificial materials, and there's tears and burns and dirt all over it. I'm not drinking out of my chair, though. You getting what I'm giving to you here? You catching what I'm pitching? You stepping on what I'm laying down? We already have the plastics. The problem is already here. The problem now is, how do we find a solution? A lot of those microplastics, we're talking about number 2 plastics and stuff like that. High density polyethylene. It breaks down in sunlight. It's not as gas resistant. It's not as liquid resistant. Again, the sunlight breaks it down, and then you get chunks of broken plastic. Some examples of crappy plastics like that are, all right, you know your trays, the plastic tray that is in your refrigerator and the interior lining of your refrigerator. If you take that out and you stick it in your yard for 2 years, and then you go set something on it, whatever you set on it's going to fall right through and it's going to break some of that plastic out. When you go to clean it up, yes, eventually something is going to go through the landfill that it's in. Eventually there'll be a river millions of years from now, who knows. But eventually everything is probably going to end up in the ocean anyway. Is that a valid excuse to keep on throwing that garbage out there? No, we can take those other types of plastics. When we make, like, say for example, you make a number one plastic boat mold, and then you fill it with marine foam. Well, you can also use those other crappy plastics as filler in your marine foam. Kind of like aggregate and cement. And that way you've got something that's basically sandwiched in between basically a rotomolded hull that's made of number one recycled plastic that's going to last for literally thousands of years, if not tens of thousands. And all these other things that we don't want them fish eating or getting a hold of, yes, it's out on top of the ocean, same as it was before. But it's not a piece this big that's floating around on the top that something's going to eat, confusing it for something else. It's inside of something that is bigger than my car. They're not going to be able to identify that one little piece or even get to it to try to eat it, because it's contained within something that does last a lot longer. Now, if we could figure out how to make a bunch of marine foam out of number one recycled plastics, then we could actually rotomold a number one plastic hull and then fill it with polyethylene terephthalate, basically bubbles that all stick together on the inside. That way the whole boat, it's all something that is going to last a very long time. It's something you can pass down to your kids. You know, there are probably bottles like this in here or this in here, any of these number one recycled plastic bottles that I got. There are probably plastic bottles that you have drank in your lifetime that have at least 1 or 2 molecules of plastic from another container that you drank out of in your lifetime. Well, if you only melt it down once and you make it into something that if the plastics are going to last 10,000 years, and this is one of the complaints that I've heard about plastics for fucking ever, it's going to last for 10,000 years, and it's something that you only use for 20 minutes while you drink your beverage. After that, you don't need the container anymore. Well, the container also stores that stuff, but we can get into that later. The thing is, if it's going to last 10,000 years, why don't you, I don't know, mold it into something that can be used for 10,000 years? I mean, wouldn't that be the optimal thing to do? A lot of people talk about living in a plastic house, and then they talk about how toxic it is. Well, they don't talk about the toxicity of the different types of plastics. When you're talking about some of those other plastics, yeah, touching some of those other plastics is actually hazardous to your life. They didn't know that when they made it. But it's always a risk. Now we know that all plastics, at least the vapors from them, are inherently dangerous. So it's probably not a good idea to melt them down without a filter or to burn them, especially without a filter. We also know that the byproducts of melting down number one polyethylene terephthalate is negligible because it turns right back into polyethylene terephthalate. Also the way that you mold it, and also the thickness, and also the temperature you bring it up to, and also how long it takes for it to cool down, also whether or not you use a hopper or a push pump. You know, there's a lot of different things that can go into polyethylene terephthalate. make it do all sorts of different things, from being hard as a rock to being, well, you can actually make it so that at room temperature it's almost like Play-Doh. Cool, huh? But you got to know how to do it. Now, the stuff that you can make that needs almost like Play-Doh, there's two different recipes that I'm aware of. One of them stays that way. I'm assuming that there's a shelf life for it. Like, probably in 100 years it'll turn into a flat chunk eventually, or in 100 years it'll turn hard as a rock. Who knows? But we haven't seen the atmospheric effects on that yet. The other one is you add a couple of other additives to it, and it basically melts the plastic because you put those other additives into it. And once the plastic is melted down, you shape it like it's clay, and then you just let it dry out. And when the other chemicals that are in it they boil at less than 100 degrees Fahrenheit, so basically they turn into fumes, like alcohol, for example. And that's not one of the things that's used in the recipe, but alcohol is one of those things. If you wipe it down or put it somewhere and leave it out in the open, it's going to dehydrate and disappear a whole lot faster than water. I wish I had some friends to talk to. I wish I had a place to actually work on these things. I collect the stuff to do it. I've had a lot of people that I paid money so that I could use their place to do it. They're like, yeah, Sean, if you give me this or give me that or help me with this or help me with that, yeah, dude, fucking I'll totally let you do that at my place. And then you keep your end of the bargain, and they do something stupid like beat on their girlfriend. And then the girlfriend doesn't like you because you're friends with him too, so you gotta go, and so does your stuff. She's not gonna let you come get your stuff, but she's gonna yell at you because your stuff is still over at her place. That lady was pretty screwed up, but I get it. She was angry and she couldn't take it out on him. She needed somebody to take it out on, so I ended up being the one she took it out on. I just like Tom, who doesn't hardly ever get to speak and turns into Mr. Chatty as soon as he's with people that'll let him speak. I'm kind of the same, but I'm usually the one who ends up having to listen. So, being that person, I'm lucky that I have YouTube to bitch at. I did find a decent sized snipe. Looks like they got most of their camp pulled out, him and her, so I guess they're gonna move together and he's gonna keep looking out for her. He explained that, well, she thought he was going on 28-mile trek up to his camp and back. He was going down the street. Did escape, but I'll stop talking. I suppose while I got my car running and I'm wasting gas, I ought to be able to plug in all of my electronics so that they all catch a charge. Because it's wasteful on my gas. Alright. There's not enough there to take another drag, so I'm going to put what's left in my tobacco pipe. Method to my madness. Conserves cash. There's stuff I'm able to do in a limited capacity physically. There's stuff that I'm able to do in a limited capacity mentally. And given the proper environment, the proper materials, my abilities increase rapidly and exponentially. I don't think either of those two are likely to help me out with any of my stuff. Does that mean it's not okay to help them? No, it doesn't. I am glad that he's taking the responsibility for her that he is, because I didn't want to do it. Hopefully he is able to get her back to Portland, but I got the feeling she's gonna Shanghai him again. She got her scarf back and she got her hat back, so the whole screaming at me about stealing her shit, that just makes me look bad to everybody here. There's people over there at the Fred Meyer gas thing and they heard her screaming that shit. There's people that work at the garden center and they heard her screaming that shit. There's also people who live in this town who are shopping here and they heard her screaming that shit. And yeah, that is something that's going to make it bad for me. That is something that's going to make it worse for me. But you guys don't think about that before you go unleashing on the wrong fucking person. See, she's doing to me here the same thing that Natalie and Alicia Bollinger did. The same thing that Maddie Boa did. The same thing that Danica Garner did. The same thing that Rose M. Kelly did. The same thing that Robert Warnick did. The same thing that Tim Beeson did and Ted Bollinger did. Same thing the American public and the police did. They victimized the wrong fucking person. They took this shit out on the wrong fucking person. They blamed the wrong fucking person. There's no consequences for that. I mean, her consequences are negligible. She got what she wanted. That guy's still there, despite the fact that he don't want nothing to do with her. He's going to try to be responsible and help her to get somewhere where she can. Hopefully, he can be done with her. Now, we can all hope the best for him. Those of you that pray, this is something that, well, I hope you pray over. If your God will do something about this situation to help release him from Eva, please do. Because that's something God likely gives a shit about. I don't actually believe that there is a God. I believe in the possibility of a God, because possibility cannot prove nor disprove the existence of such a thing. But short of that, yeah, no. She also went off on me about pushing my religion on her. I didn't push my religion on her. She pushed hers on me and wanted to push me to go to church. And I kept my mouth shut, the whole smile and wave thing. So she's projecting her shit onto me, and she's also projecting her shit onto anybody in her environment. Well, I'm fine with leaving it being her environment. Also, if she's going to accuse me this easily and do evil shit that easily over something that somebody else did and something that she fucked up and made a mistake about, I do have to worry about her mental stability and what she's going to do when it happens again, because obviously this is an ongoing issue. For the abuse that I have to endure because I am a male, it's screwed up that females are actually doing the things you guys accuse me of. And you don't do none of this stuff to them. If you do, they're more likely to get help, because there's a lot of us who think that shit's important, myself included. She's not being victimized out here. She's victimizing others to the point that she's just well hated. For me, I expose people like her until I'm well hated. Unfortunately, it's those domineering personalities that end up getting what they want. I try to pretend to be one of those people a little bit when it's an absolute necessity to get heard. But it doesn't work for me. You have to naturally be an asshole. Actually be an asshole for that to work. Also, you gotta be a manipulator, and I don't really like manipulating people. I mean, look how difficult it is to manipulate people into telling the truth to the public, to the police, to the courts. That's right, I was telling the truth the whole time while you guys were treating me like I was crazy and schizophrenic and not bothering to go to the source and ask. So what I do, I called up the source, I recorded the conversations with the source, and some of those conversations, based on the information in them, I posted on YouTube. Alright, this might be too much sugar, we'll see. I don't know what this video was originally called, but I do know as soon as I saw her, my intent in the video became much different because I wasn't sure what she was going to do, what she was doing, how she was going to act, how she was going to react. Thank goodness Tom's taking over the responsibility sort of right now. Thank goodness he's doing what he said. He said he's going to get her away from here because she's driving everybody nuts. She is making it bad for everybody. She is drawing negative attention to the area and to the people here. You know, it's one thing when you're in a quiet corner of the parking lot, nobody cares. It's another thing when you're in a quiet corner of the parking lot and there's somebody screaming at the top of their fucking lungs that you're a goddamn thief. Anyway, you know, I gotta eventually end this video, and I'm gonna do that now. Hopefully it'll, if I turn off the phone for a little bit, it's 5:06, so it's too late to go to where I was gonna go. Jesus, these predators are going through all my videos one by one, trying to complain about all of them. I keep getting notification after notification. I don't think they've understood quite that everything's already been gone through by my predators with a fine-tooth comb. You don't think the hundreds of other people who are recorded lying to me on my YouTube channel haven't tried to get it taken down? They have. They failed. Goodbye.